Monday morning in Irkutsk, and time to put my tour guide's hat on. You can, of course, just wander the streets and chance upon sites of interest, from old buildings to new buildings and even to murals. But to get the most out of the town, it is better to have a plan. We start with the Russo-Asian Bank, built in the modernist style in 1910 and appropriated by the Soviets after the 1917 revolution. It is now a hospital. This art museum was most impressive from the outside, but very definitely closed. Across the street is the statue of a tourist. This charming 300-kilo bronze statue by Ilya Stavsky was put up in 2011 and looks, open-eyed in wonder, at the Grand Hotel. Not far away is Ulica Uritskova, one of the oldest streets in the town. It used to be lined with wooden houses, but after a fire they were rebuilt in stone at the beginning of the 20th century. Now it's a pedestrian zone. Moving on a bit, I came to this decorated wall dedicated to the Internazionale. It wasn't officially on the trip, but was definitely worth filming. And talking of filming, any Russian will instantly recognize this trio, the coward, the fool, and the pro, from Leonid Gaidai's classic comedy, Kidnapping, Caucasian Style, and here he is directing it. The green line's an excellent innovation, just like the red line we had in Yekaterinburg. Not always easy to follow under the snow. But off we go, let's keep looking, see what else we can find, just come from Gaidar. This is the townhouse of the Trapeznikov family, built in the early 19th century and reconstructed in 1879. And another house, this one belonging to I.M. Feinberg, a merchant and owner of gold mines. I think it's fantastic that these are all still standing in the centre of town, along with other curios, such as this house, where Sergei Kirov, the Bolshevik revolutionary and later Soviet politician, lived illegally in 1909. However, it is not all open-air museum. So on the one side of the street you've got that beautiful little wooden house, and then across here, oh dear. Or this. And again, this beautiful wooden townhouse, which is also for sale apparently. And then just behind it, modern Irkutsk. And then another wooden townhouse. Amazing. But how can you not love these shutters and Nalichniki around the windows? At last I reached the Moscow Triumphal Arch, built in 1811 to celebrate the 10th year of Alexander I's reign, and close by, another delightful statue to Irkutsk's first teacher, erected in 2016 and also by Stavsky. This is the riverside in Irkutsk on a very cold winter's morning, and that is the Angara river. And as often happens when it's really cold, it looks as though it's seaming. You can just about see the houses on the other bank, but that is the water down there. Looks like a boiling cauldron instead of what it actually is, which is freezing cold. A bit further along the embankment is the statue to Yakov Pakhovov, who founded Irkutsk in 1661. Put up for the city's 350th birthday in 2011, it is stylized, as nobody knows what he actually looked like. Across the street is the wonderful Epiphany Cathedral, built between 1718 and 1746. During the Soviet period, this housed a bakery and student dormitory. Fortunately, it has been restored to its former glory. Completely covered in paintings, the first chamber you enter is quite low, but in the main body of the church, this splendid iconostasis rises up and up and up to the winged angels in the heavens above. What an extraordinarily beautiful interior this is. This part of the Green Line, as well as being chock-a-block with tour groups, is a festival of churches. Facing the Epiphany Cathedral is the Church of the Saviour, one of the first stone buildings in Irkutsk, dating to 1710, and the only one to survive from the original fortress. There is also the Church of Archangel Michael. This building was completed in 1790 and replaced a wooden church from 1739. One final brick building, but culture of a different sort, the Vampilov Children's Theatre. Remember that name. And then the Green Line led us back, at last, to the river bank. Here we are, and when I say we, I mean my good self and my trusty travelling companion, Kamanchik Timothy, on the banks of the Angara River. Over there, upstream, is Lake Baikal. The Angara is the only river that flows out of Lake Baikal. Swinging round, you can see that the river has calmed down a little bit since this morning, although it's still steaming. Haha. And you can see the other bank, and down in that direction the river flows on towards the Yenisei and then out to the what's it called? Frozen North Ocean? Something very far north. It's been a beautiful time here, and we're about to go inside. Don't you think? Yes, definitely. Find something to drink and get a little bit warmer, because although it doesn't feel as cold as this morning, it's still not warm, and we're certainly not going swimming in the river today. Kabanchik Timothy and I have decided to take a quick break halfway around our Green Line walk to warm up and fill up, because it is quite cold outside, and getting the phone out just freezes your fingers. But it really is great. I'd love to do it again in the summer. It takes you around all the sorts of places you really want to see. The old buildings, the churches, the river embankment, yeah, just everything. It's great. Don't need to worry about a map, look at anything. All the information's there on little stands wherever you get anywhere. Fantastic idea. Great job, Irkutsk. That's really fantastic. So we've found our way into an English pub on the embankment on the Naberezhnaya, which is still fairly empty at this time of day. It's only about lunchtime, and it's a Monday, so real people are at work. They've got a great selection of beers, as you can see from these taps, but not a lot Russian. Certainly nothing local. They said there's nothing from Irkutsk at all, but they do have Russian beer, and the irony of it is that the only Russian beer they have is Spaten, so a German beer brewed under license here. So that's what we went for. So here's a pint of Spaten, which I'm going to try and get to before Kabanchik Timothy drinks all of it, and then we'll head off to finish off the Green Line, then sum up for this trip and head out to the airport for our trip back to Moscow. See you all in a bit. A few statues to finish off with. First up, a bust of Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. This is the statue to Vampilov, one of the actors who comes from around these parts. Not far from the theatre, which I just walked past. And over the other side of the road, that very impressive looking building. This is where the Green Line starts, or rather for me, it ends. Behind me, statue to Alexander III, Emperor of all Russia. And it's been a good 4-hour walk around Irkutsk, seeing everything this town has to offer. Whew. Done it. Got there. Great place to start, great place to end. Really recommend it. Time to head off. So, Kamanchik Timothy and I are going to go back, get warm, pack up, head off to the airport. But there's just time for one last statue. Well, I have made it back to Moscow, slightly later than I planned. Because of the heavy snow, the flight was delayed for a couple of hours, but I'm now here, and that's all merely a minor inconvenience. I do have to give a big shout out to Aeroflot, because the painting which I bought at the exhibition by Mira Runova is now back, safe and sound, all in one piece, and hanging in pride of place on my wall. So thank you very much for that. Great service. Thoughts turn to Irkutsk, and what do we think? Well, I had a fantastic time, and I think it's a wonderful place. Most of the buildings, most of the older buildings, are low-rise, 5 stories at most, usually less, about 3, although there are some new build apartment blocks which are slightly taller, mainly outside the centre of town. But in town, it's all fairly low-rise, and there are a lot of wooden buildings left. Some of them have been done up, and so look new, and some of them have been left in, let's say, their original condition. But that really adds to the atmosphere in town, and it's great that those are still there, and that they're not all just building high-rises everywhere. They're keeping the character of the town, which is really nice. But along with that, there is a lot of innovation, some new stuff, cafes, restaurants, bars, places to sort of dive into while you're wandering around town. If your legs are tired, your feet are cold, or you just fancy a rest, pop in, grab a coffee, grab something to eat, head off again down the Green Line, which is fantastic, as I've said before. See all the sights. Would of course be great to come in the summer when it's a bit greener. They've done up the Naberezhnaya, the embankment, and that'll be great to walk along. There are some green parts in town, little parks and things where you could sit. And in general, what is there? About 600,000 people here, I think, which is, might sound large, but it's very small compared to Moscow. So it means, as always, people tend to be friendlier than they are in big cities, have more time, more polite, just generally more interactive. So on that note, Irkutsk is a great place to come. It's only about an hour from Baikal, which in itself is fantastic. And there is a lot to recommend it. So I would say, come and have a look at Irkutsk. You will like it.